I just want to try and sow some seeds of doubt. Now, at times we want to reassure ourselves, and there is a purpose in reassuring ourselves and being centered, building our confidence, that we are on the right track, that we know who we are, building on that, and that's all good and purposeful. But a lot of my work seems to be in other directions. The dismantling of the old idea or the old identity or the old ego, and seeing who lies underneath that. Who am I beneath these interpretations or identities or all that stuff? So the purpose of these words really is to bring doubt for you, to bring doubt and for you to question your own mind or who you think you are. It's not to build you up or to reassure you. It's for you to begin, if you don't already, to observe yourself and start to ask questions, or continue and ask deeper questions. So these examples are from some friends and clients and my own observations. A woman I worked with maybe 6 or 8 months ago, she told me at one point that, when she'd be walking down the street, if she saw someone walking towards her, she might feel unsafe, might feel anxious. So she'd cross to the other side of the street. And her interpretation of this was that this was her instinct. This was her guidance. Now that floored me when I heard it. Instinct and guidance is the quiet voice. It's not the loud, shouty voice. And it's not fear. Fear is a lower vibrationary. It's anxiety. It is the ego. It is what needs to be confronted within us. It's unreliable. And a big part of my work, and I imagine for people who listen to me or who follow my work, is to strengthen that quiet voice. To be able to discern what is my ego, my fear nonsense, the nonsense of the mind, and to discern, well, what is my guidance here? What's my instinct here? Now, another example is a woman who I know who was shown a photograph of a man, and she saw this photograph and she felt, this pang of, I think it was pain or whatever it was, came up in her and said, oh my God, he's in so much pain, or he's on this type of journey. Now, she didn't know who it was, and the woman who showed her the photograph knows who he is and knows his journey. So the woman who interpreted this reading, it turns out, was way off, was wrong. Now, during the lockdown, at one point, this woman contacted me, and she messaged me and she said, are you okay? I feel there's so much pain. I feel attached to you. And as it happens, I was having a great day. It was a sunny day in Dublin. As I ignored the lockdowns. I was doing my own thing. I was sitting in the sun. I was enjoying myself. I felt good. So she was attaching her own pain to me and assuming that she was reading me in some way. Now, it's not that we're not reading other people at times, but we need to learn to discern what is our own stuff and what we are putting on to other people. So I've made a couple of videos, a couple of podcasts regarding the term empath. And pretty much these days, most, 90% I would just ignore the term empath. Because generally these days, in almost all cases, it is people who can't discern their own pain from other people's pain. And someone is presented and they feel this anger or whatever, and they say, oh my God, it's his pain. Oh, he's very toxic or he's very sick. And they can't actually discern that, no, that's your own inner pain that's being activated. You don't know how to heal it or integrate it, and you don't even know how to discern that it is your own pain. Now, what I teach, or the kernel of my work, is to go below the noise of the mind and the strength, the intensity of emotion, and see what lies beneath that. It's a toxic and it's a dangerous, violent cocktail. This is why people kill each other. This is why people go to war. This is why people beat their wives. Why we have road rage and so on. The emotion kicks up. That pain of anger or whatever it may be, mixed with a wild, untamed mind that gives reasoning or explanations or justifications of why this person needs to be brought in line. They're fucking mad. So it's a dangerous cocktail. And everyone listening to this knows those moments, where you've listened to all that fucking shit in your own mind, all those shitty reasons, mixed with all the strong emotion. Now, if you think that emotion and that mind is accurate in those moments, I have nothing to teach you. I wish you well. I'm looking for people who, even there's a hint of awareness that maybe, just maybe, your mind is unreliable. I have countless examples of how my mind and my emotions have been unreliable, to the point where now I try desperately. If my mind is going and my emotions are up, my work is to get under that, to step away from the noise of the mind, step into the emotion, and then integrate the emotion and witness what's underneath that. And I'll pretty much guarantee you, almost always, there is pain, my own grief, my own fear. And my own grief and fear is clouded with judgment and anger and reactionary stuff. And then the mind jumps in on that and has loads of reasons and excuses why I should react and why I should do this, or why this person is wrong or bad, and all the rest of it. It's all bollocks. In some senses, we trust ourselves far too much. We trust the mind, the ego, far too much. And in other senses, we don't trust our instinct at all, or certainly not enough. So remember that this little voice in your head that talks relentlessly, sometimes it gets you out of trouble. It tells you when to cross the road. It tells you to not fucking inject heroin at 8 o'clock in the morning. I know you've things in your life that it's like, well, it's guided me well. It has. But if you have the ability to be self-critical or to observe and look back at previous decisions, you may just find there are decisions that you made that were not the best decisions. That maybe your mind did not have all the right answers or enough information, or did not steer you in a way that was of most benefit to your character or your growth. Isn't that interesting? Even if you can find one of those or two of those moments. I remember years ago I was painting a house, and I went to view this job in an evening, and there was a couple with a newborn baby, and they followed me into every room in the house, and I had my notebook out and I was just taking notes of what work was entailed in each room so I could make up a quote, an estimate. And they were breathing down my neck, and they were like watching everything I wrote down, and it was just intense. It was in my face. And I came out of there thinking, I don't even want this job. I don't want to work for them. It's going to be too intense. It's going to be a head wreck. But as it turned out at the time, other jobs fell through, or they were delayed. I needed the money. I needed the work. And I thought, fuck it, I'm going to have to do it. So I did it. Started the job, and they turned out to be two of the nicest people that I've ever worked for. They left me alone. They were under pressure because they wanted the house done before a christening, and they had a deadline, and they were just desperate to get someone in. I had been referred through another person I worked for, so they trusted me. They knew my work would be good, and they were just so desperate and under pressure to get me to do it. But I totally misread the situation, and it was a great learning experience to realize something in my fucking radar is off. And it opened my mind to a degree that can be opened more. But to bring in that perspective at times of like, am I on track here? Am I reading this person or this situation accurately? And to bring in perspective and space, to not jump to a conclusion, to not jump to a decision, to allow a breathing space, bit of time. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. I don't know. And sometimes, my earliest awareness falls away and I realize, no, I now see this with a new set of glasses, new set of eyes. There's new perspective. So as I've said before, my point is to sow seeds of doubt. I want some people, or a lot of people, to doubt that fucking mind. That voice is not reliable. That loud, shouty voice of, I hate that person, I love that person, this is the thing to do. Fucking that loud voice is not your instinct. And if it's mixed with strong emotion, it's a cocktail. It's fuel for destruction. It's not accurate. Even if you arrive at the perceived right decision, there's better ways to arrive there, and that's through calm observation, strengthening the muscle of instinct and guidance and intuition and feeling, as opposed to, yourself. I have people who write lists of what the right thing to do is, list of what the wrong thing to do is, spend 3 days walking around thinking about it. I've thought about it, I've decided I'm going to do it, I've decided I'm not going to do it, I've decided I'm going to do it, I've decided, and they just can't make a decision because they're so invested in ego and in the mind and in all that thinking that they can't feel. There's so much noise, they can't feel what feels right to them. But just consider bringing in some doubt and some questioning of all that noise in your mind. When there's enough quiet and stillness, you will find your way and your gut will speak and you will feel, and it might not necessarily be really strong. It's a quiet feeling that feels like the right thing to do. But as you listen to that more and as you nurture that more, the loud voice quietens down, becomes less and less. And that quiet voice just becomes more solid and consistent. We identify it easier, quicker, and we just know stronger instinctively, yeah, that's the way to go. I don't need hours of analysis. I don't need to write lists of pros and cons. I don't need to ask 40 people for feedback. What's your opinion? I don't need to watch loads of videos or read loads of articles about the pros or cons or the yay or nay. I don't do any of that now. Just follow my instinct. And sometimes it can result in a bit of chaos or challenges, but that's okay. That's the path then that I was meant to take. I'm okay with that. There's growth in it. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. Thanks for listening. If this is of use, please share. And remember that these podcasts are now available on the likes of iTunes and all podcast platforms and on YouTube. Thank you.